This is Dimitri Lascaris coming to you from Cyprus. I'd like to welcome you to our panel discussion on a saga known in Canada as the Two Michaels, or depending on what your focus might be, the Meng Affair. And today I'm going to be joined and honored to be joined by Victor Gao, Radhika Desai, and Keith Bennett. Before introducing my co-panelists to you, I'd just like to briefly summarize what we're here about. The story begins in December 2018 when Canadian authorities arrested Meng Wanzhou in Vancouver. Meng was the chief financial officer of a critically important Chinese technology company, Huawei. Days later, Chinese authorities arrested two Canadian men, Michael Kovrig, who was on leave from Global Affairs Canada, and entrepreneur Michael Spavor. Canada claimed that there was no basis to arrest either of the Michaels and that China was simply retaliating for the arrest of Meng, which was done at the request of the administration of Donald Trump, who sought the extradition of Meng to the United States to face criminal charges there. So today we're going to discuss recent developments in the saga and what these developments mean geopolitically and also in terms of the domestic politics of Canada. Before giving you a more detailed timeline of the events that led us here, I'd like to introduce my co-panelists. Keith Bennett is a researcher and consultant on China's international relations and co-editor of the Friends of Socialist China platform. He's also a longtime specialist on the DPRK. He has visited China regularly since 1981 and the DPRK regularly since 1983. And I understand he's joining us this evening from the United Kingdom. Of geopolitical economy at the University of Manitoba, and prolific and published writer and author. She also served as the chairperson of my platform committee when I ran to be the leader of the Green Party of Canada in 2020, a contest which I came perilously close to winning, but thankfully it didn't turn out that way. And finally, Victor Gao, our honored guest, is a leading Chinese international relations expert. Among other degrees, Victor has a Juris Doctor from Yale Law School and a master's in international relations from the Political Science Department of Yale Graduate School. He is a guest professor at the Law School of Suzhou University and is a member of the board of directors of that university. He's also a member of the International Advisory Board of the Energy Intelligence Group in London and an advisor to the very large, prominent company Saudi Aramco. And before handing this discussion over to Victor to begin, I'd like, for the benefit of our audience, to give you a somewhat more detailed timeline of this international controversy. The whole affair began in August of 2018 when a New York court issued a warrant for the arrest of Meng. In December 1st, Canadian authorities arrested her at Vancouver's airport after an extradition request by the Trump administration. The news becomes public a few days later. Then immediately following the demanded that Canada release Meng and, quote, immediately correct, closed quote, that Canadian officials made in arresting her. On December 7th, Meng appeared in a Vancouver court where allegations of fraud were laid out. The U.S. alleged, and this is quite important, that Meng misled American banks in a bid to get around American sanctions on Iran. This was not a claim that she violated Canadian law or Chinese law or any other law but those of the United States. Then on December 10th, so this was within 10 days of the arrest of Meng, Chinese authorities arrested two Canadian men, Michael Kovrig, who was on leave from Global Affairs Canada, and Michael Spavor. Kovrig's arrest became public on December 11th. On the following day, Meng was released on $10 million bail. Then we go to 2019. In January of that year, at a news conference, China's prosecutor General Zhang Jun says Kovrig and Spavor without a doubt violated Chinese law. And then on the 9th, Chinese envoy in Ottawa, this is the 9th of January of 2019, suggested Canada and its Western allies, I would completely agree with this observation, by the way, are white supremacists for calling for the release of two Canadians imprisoned last month by his country's communist government. China demanded the U.S. drop the request for extradition. And then in response to that demand, the U.S. Department of Justice effectively thumbing its charges against. And later that month, the Canadian government said it had received a formal request for extradition. In March of that year, Meng's defense team announced it had filed a notice to civil claim alleging serious violations of their client's constitutional rights. In March, also, Huawei pled not guilty in New York court. In May of 2019, Canadian diplomats are joined in a Chinese courtroom by American, British, French, and German colleagues to watch an appeal relevant to this case. Then we fast forward to 2020. In June of that year, China charged Kovrig and Spavor with spying. On August 11th of 2020, Michael Spavor was sentenced to 11 years in prison on national security charges. In September 24th, Meng pled not guilty in a U.S. court after reaching an agreement with the American government over something called a deferred prosecution agreement, basically not admitting guilt. And on the 24th, the U.S. extradition request was dropped, finally allowing Meng to recover her freedom. And the last chapter, the one that I think prompted us all to decide that this was a discussion we should be having, is that in November of 2023, so now some 3 years after Meng finally recovered her freedom, Michael Spavor publicly blamed his fellow prisoner, Michael Kovrig, for his Chinese detention, alleging that he was used, Kovrig, for intelligence gathering. So now the two supposed victims of a Chinese retaliatory measure are at war with each other, and one is being explicitly accused essentially of what the Chinese government had accused him of to begin with. And that brings us now to our analysis, and I'd like to invite Victor to begin the discussion.
I'm Michael Hudson. I'm appearing here for the International Manifesto group. If you like this video and ones like it, please subscribe. For more information, go to the address on the screen.